Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2007 My Team Career Mode. This is part number 3 today for the Canadian Grand Prix and the British GP. If you guys did miss the previous episode uploaded just yesterday, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. We enter the European portion of the season with a B-spec car, if you will, and at the Spanish Grand Prix, well, our teammate Kamui Kobayashi set the timesheets alight on the Saturday and started on the front row, and that ended up being a very tense race right to the end. Proper teammate dogfight to get the team's first podium of the season. Monaco, even better, a front row lockout, and we had to battle the Iceman, Kimi Räikkönen, all the way to the end to secure a win at the Monaco GP. Our first win of the season gets us up into P4 after Lewis Hamilton had a very tough day in the office there, stuck in traffic, and we're starting to pull away from the mid-pack and try to bridge the gap to Ferrari and McLaren as we try and make this a three-way title fight between our three teams and try and get in the middle, of course, of Massa, Raikkonen, Alonso and Hamilton's Drivers' Championship fight. And the fight continues in today's episode. Let's roll that intro. I don't know about you, but I could honestly watch it over and over again. There's just something about it. I just love it. It's just so quirky and so amazing. So let's hit it. Let's go to Canada. We come to one of my favourite all-time circuits on the F1 game, and IRL F1 as well. Let's see how we do, though, in this era of cars. Off the back of Monaco, kind of getting a better sense of how to dance the car around. I was hoping for a pretty solid qualifying, but it seems like Ferrari have actually brought some upgrades into this race because they are literally a bullet in a straight line on the back straight. Raikkonen looks to be on for pole position. We try and wring the neck out of the thing in the last couple of corners to gain one more position up to P4 on the grid. The second row, but I believe it looks like a Ferrari front row lockout. I think Kobayashi may be close to me as well, but there's going to be an entire spanner in the works for all of us, no matter what the qualifying grid looks like, because there is some rain for the very first time in this series and season. So this is going to be a whole different kettle of fish, because I don't know how on earth this car is going to react in the rain. You know, in the dry with the traction, it's a very stable rear end, but now with some precipitation, maybe things might get a little bit slipperier and we might need to actually manage the throttle a little bit more. But here's how the grid's shaping up then for this first wet race in the series. Raikkonen is on pole. Massa, he would have lined up in second place, but he has a penalty. So Kobayashi on the front row for a second time in a row for off the back of the Monaco GP. We're up to third place, Hamilton P4. Then comes Fernando Alonso, David Coulthard in 5 and 6, Fisichella 7th, Mark Webber 8th, and rounding out the top 10, Heidfeld and Kovalainen. P11 is Alexander Wirtz and Massa down to P12 with that 10th place penalty. Then comes Trulli, Rosberg, Button, Ralf Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel and Rubens Barrichello down to P18. And then it's the Super Aguri pair of Sato and Davidson P19 and 20, Lutzi and Kubica on the back of the grid with a penalty of his own. Well, we've got our first taster of some wet weather racing here with the 2007 mod. How are we going to fare? Let's find out as we go to 5 red lights to the Canadian Grand Prix, and we're underway. It is a good start for Kobayashi. It's a very poor one for ourselves as the traction just isn't there, and we lock up into turn 1, narrowly miss the back of Hamilton. We're drifting through. It's like a boat out of water through the first 2 corners, and the safety car is out straight away for some incidents behind Coulthard and Webber up to P5 and 6, and it's because there is some controversy like in real life in 07. Alonso and Hamilton go go to war, and Alonso is spun round on the back end of Lewis Hamilton. Can you believe it? So the mod somehow has got that correct from 2007. It was a very tense year for the two pairings, you know, coming to blows, cheeky underhanded tactics here and there. And here in this series, well, they've made contact with each other. Alonso spun round, he's towards the back now. Hamilton up to third place, and we actually did well. We probably actually avoided all of that, having gone deep. If I actually had kept my racing line tight up behind Hamilton, we could have got caught up in that whole thing as Hamilton and Alonso slowed up. And, you know, even worse, if we actually somehow were still on the left-hand side of the actual track, we may have actually got caught up in a T-bone situation with Alonso. So we kind of count ourselves a little bit lucky there, but the visibility is so bloody poor here right now around Montreal, really bucketing it down. We're on full wet tyres, but I don't remember F1 2020, obviously the game this mod is based on. I don't remember the rain being this crazy and this hard to see through. It's almost actually doing a better job than F1 22 does in terms of making it a bit of a challenge in a kind of funny way, being a 2-year-old game. But right now we're trying to make the most of it, and I feel like we do have the pace to overtake Hamilton. It's just about trying to find the right place in the circuit. He, as all the AI do, they seem to have some great straight line speed over us, so we need to try and get this done in a corner, and that corner may just be turn 1 as Raikkonen continues to go quicker and quicker in P1. We send one down the inside of Hamilton, and just like he did with Alonso, he nearly squeezes us into the turn 1 apex, but we get the elbows out and we manage to dance the car around the outside of him to get up into P3. And now I can see my teammate Kamui Kobayashi up there in second place, a few seconds ahead of us with Raikkonen in P1. Meanwhile, his teammate Massa, having taken a 10th place grid drop, is trying to make his way through on one of the Renaults. I think he already overtook the second one behind him there. So now through turns 1 and 2, Massa, the Brazilian, gets up, and he's got down the next 2 Red Bulls to overtake before he catches up to Hamilton. And then myself, obviously, Kobayashi and his teammate, quite a fair way away from P1 though, so this will be a good opportunity for Kimi, for Kobayashi, myself, even Hamilton really, to score some good points on Massa, the championship leader of course. But right now at the moment, Hamilton is putting me under massive pressure, going quite quick in sector 1, but lock up in the second sector. We nearly go completely off circuit, but having taken some controlling action in the car to keep it going in the straight line we need it to, Hamilton has been able to re-overtake us, and now brake checks us a little bit, probably not on purpose, but just where the brake zone was, I was so right underneath his rear wing that we almost overcooked it and completely careered into the rear end of the McLaren, and that's allowed Coulthard to come out of nowhere to maybe try and go for P3. So clearly the Red Bulls have maybe also found some pace in some upgrades, or maybe their car just suits the wet weather better, because the 2 Red Bulls are hanging on to myself and Hamilton a lot better than they ever were around the Spanish Grand Prix, for example, where we made light work of them and they actually tried to hold up Hamilton as much as they could. In the end, did get overtaken by both us Brits, but at the moment Coulthard is staying ahead of me. We couldn't quite get a move done on the outside of turn 1, and the spray invisibility is so poor. It's really hard to pick a racing line and brake point when you can't see the brake marker board, and Coulthard has some decent pace about him. Hamilton's pulling away, so we're desperate to make this move. Bit of a lunge, late one into turn 1, but like with the Hamilton overtake earlier, we just keep it on the outside in second gear, try and get on the power as early as we can, even though there is traction here because of, you know, the nature of the circuit. The weather is very slippery, so it still can, the back end still can slide out a fair bit. Eventually though, in clean air, we're finding a bit more of a groove. Purple first sector, green the second, closing up to Hamilton now. Lap 11 on to 12. Can we get Hamilton in the next lap or two? I hope so, with a purple lap time now. That's pretty promising, considering Raikkonen's been setting purples most of the time, and we're so quick through turns 1 and 2. They'll actually maybe have a go at him. Round the outside, Hamilton goes defensive. We're trying to get a bit of a slipstream to then pull back out to make the move, but Hamilton remains strong with his defense, doing well. We've seen it so much in the series so far. These AI are actually very good at defending, and they're very aggressive with some of their racing line moves to defend their position, so it's actually proving a bit of a challenge. Also might just be added in there, much better at navigating these cars than I am. Still getting to grips, and clearly the work we did at Monaco, dancing the car around the Principality, hasn't transferred over exactly, but Raikkonen is in now. Raikkonen's coming in for a pit stop. In an 18-lap race, full wet race, he's come in for, I can only assume, another set of full wet tyres, because it's definitely not intermediate. But Raikkonen's in, so Kobayashi leads the way now, and we are fighting now for P2 on the road. And as we've done so many times, we tried to outbrake Hamilton into turn 1, but I kind of got caught up annoyingly behind him. But then he was so slow in turns 2 that I just thought, okay, thank you very much. He just waved me by, so a very odd overtake. Obviously he had a double lockup, so whether that affected things or not, I'm not too sure. But it's not just Raikkonen who's pit for another set of full wet tyres. A lot of the grid have actually behind us there, as the 2 Red Bulls had already come in by that point I was overtaking Hamilton. And speaking about overtaking, well, Kimi clearly has all the pace in the world here. Fresh full wet tyres, so not as much tyre wear on it, but also that Ferrari, as I alluded to in qualifying, just so quick in a straight line. No match for it. And Kimi goes and sets another purple to steal it away from me, and he's back up into P2. Kobayashi then pits eventually, so he comes up behind me. We're staying in P2 then. Kobayashi down to 3rd with his pit stop. Hamilton at this stage has already come in. Everyone has pretty much come in, apart from myself, because I just think this set of tyres can go to the end. What's the point of risking it with another pit stop? We're not going to gain anything. I doubt most people are going to gain anything from pitting again, because, everyone's just matching each other. So, in fact, I can gain something from not pitting, as I am ahead of my teammate right now, and there may be half a chance we can stay ahead of him. But there is Alonso way down the order, having had that spin off his teammate. So, no points for him today. And no points for McLaren overall, because Hamilton's slow and he's got some sort of mechanical issue. So after all of that on lap 1, it was for nothing. For nothing. Hamilton retires and both McLarens won't score today. That was on to the last lap of the Grand Prix as well, so that's so unlucky for Hamilton and McLaren. And speaking of the last lap, well, you can see the tyre wear is affecting my pace, and Kobayashi sails through as we get a wash of oversteer, trying to control the car. Obviously the tread is worn down a bit. We lock up, nearly go off circuit, so in the end of it, we haven't really actually gained a position, but we've not lost anything going to the end on this same set of tyres. But the Iceman finally books in a win this season, and we see the true Raikkonen from 07 there, with some blistering place all race long to get the P1 for Ferrari. Kobayashi, though, does brilliantly to keep that P2, and we secure a P3 ahead of the 2 Red Bulls and Massa.
Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
Big day for Raikkonen. That's going to throw his hat right into the ring for the Drivers' Championship. But a great double podium for Aarava Archer Racing here in 2007. Kobayashi and myself going from strength to strength, I think. Not quite got the 1-2 yet that Ferrari managed to get in that first part. But, still very, very solid race for us. A great race for Red Bull, I must say. Coulthard and Webber gaining a lot from McLaren's implosion of their own. So with that, we're up to 3rd place in the championship. Only 1 point between Kimi and Felipe, as the 2 Ferraris are pulling away. But we're now ahead of McLaren in the constructors. So that's been a howler for the Vodafone McLaren Mercedes team. They're going to need to bounce back, and they might get a chance straight away in this video as we go to the British GP. Straight into the action on Saturday around Silverstone, our home Grand Prix, but of course I'm sure a lot of the support may be here for a young Lewis Hamilton in 07. But our car is looking mighty strong in Sector 1 and throughout the lap, because through Maggins and Beckett's, as we chuck this car through and try and use the aero all around it to keep the grip up, we are still in P1 as we then get to the final two corners, despite even locking up into the second last corner across the line. And I think it's bloody pole position at our home race. We've stolen Hamilton's thunder, McLaren's thunder, and we're on the front row in the highest position possible for the British GP. This car, when it wants to be, can be pretty darn quick. But like we saw in Canada, I think on the straights, Ferrari may cause us problems in a straight line. And who knows, off the back of that disaster class for McLaren, surely they would have brought some upgrades to try and help themselves in this race. But I said it might be a close affair in the race for Ferrari. It was a close affair in that quali. 0.032 separating myself and Felipe Massa. But it's then also aarava Archer Racing and Ferrari all second row. Kobayashi alongside Kimi Raikkonen. Coulthard gets out of Hamilton for P5 with Alonso P7 alongside Webber. Rosberg and Fisichella ran out the top 10. Heidfeld, Trulli, Ralf Schumacher and Kubica down to P14. Jensen Button P15 alongside Alexander Burt. Vettel, Kovalainen, Sato and Anthony Davidson down to P20. And the last row is Rubens Barrichello and Liuzzi. But that is very surprising. Clearly Red Bull have actually made some good progress upgrades, and just unfortunate quali for McLaren. Where is their pace going from the start of the season? As a team, we're almost replacing them in this fight versus Ferrari, and it continues on here at Silverstone to 5 red lights for the British Grand Prix. It's a slow start for us, and we cut across Massa straight away to try and defend into turn 1, because I knew he was going to be rapid off the line. That Ferrari just seems so much slipperier in a straight line. We've done some drag reduction updates in the background here in the last 2 episodes, but clearly we need some more potentially. But Kobayashi gets into P2 through Village. Massa was taken wide by ourselves defending on the inside, and now Kobayashi might be going for P1. Kamui up into P1. We go defensive to try and also defend against Massa, whilst also trying to pivot our car on our way to have a go at re-overtaking our teammate. But it's a 1-2 right now. We're side by side through Luffield as the crowd is probably going wild at this point, seeing the plucky start-up team in 1 and 2 right now at the British GP. Massa down to 3rd. Hamilton up to P4 though, getting that British crowd energy going. He's overtaken Coulthard, he's overtaken Raikkonen, and he's in the top 4, and he's not going to take this lying down for the McLaren team. As now on lap 2, we continue to try and pressurize Kobayashi, who's doing so well right now in the lead. Bit of contact as we try and get a tight line to go around the outside. Banging tyres, and this is turning into a dogfight, just like the Spanish GP ended, as us two are so equalised. But here comes Massa on the left-hand side. That Ferrari, that was ridiculous pace. We just, for a split second, lost a bit of speed on the exit, fighting with Kobayashi, and in an instant, Massa is up there in P2, but we carry such amazing speed through turn 1 that we can now have a go to re-overtake Massa into Village, up into P2 once more, and we're going to use that speed through turns 1 in the first sector in general to try and get Kobayashi on lap 4 into Village. We're going to go for the dive bomb to the inside, slow it down, lock up on the front right tyre to get the thing slowed just in the nick of time there. But Kobayashi still there on the inside. We give him some room to work with, and still even more so room to work with behind us, as he now has to defend against not 1 but 2 Ferraris. So we're into the lead. He's too busy fighting the Ferraris. They're 3 wide almost as they go into the next left-hander, then into Luffield, and I think that's Raikkonen now who slips down the inside of Kobayashi to get up into P2. Maybe it's going to be a drag race. Massa down to P4. Hamilton obviously at this stage down to P5, so Kimi's gone and overtaken him, but at least good news for the McLaren, he's sticking with them, and the 2 Ferraris are having troubles trying to shake off Kobayashi. Hamilton now trying to get in the mixer into Maggins and Beckett, so that fight may go on and on now for the remainder of the first stint, but on lap 6, we are coming in now for our one and only pit stop here about halfway through the Grand Prix. Raikkonen has already pit. He pit 2 laps earlier, and then the rest of them pit the lap before, so I've gone 2 laps longer than Kimi, who was in second place. So let's hope, like we've seen in previous episodes, the overcut, hopefully it works just as well as it did like in Bahrain or Australia. It seems to work really well because there's very little tyre wear with this mod, so you may as well stay on the softer compound for as long as possible. But let's see, it's a pretty good tyre change, but I have no clue where anyone is at this point. I think Kimi must be coming towards the final corner across the line. It might be quite tight as we come up the pit lane exit. Obviously in 2007 this wasn't actually even here, but here in this mod it is here with this modern Silverstone, and we come out from the dugout and Raikkonen is up into what is, well, at the moment P13 on the road, but a net P1 in the race, as the rest of the cars ahead of us, Lutzi and onwards, they're all in the hard compound tyre. They've yet to come in for a pit stop. But we're not going to wait for ourselves to be in 1 and 2 on track. We want to try and overtake Kimi straight away if we can. He's got the warmer tyres, but we've got such good mid-apex speed through Luffield to try and go on the outside, wringing the neck out of this thing to get on the power early. But look at the speed that Ferrari have. We make a bit of contact as we're trying to desperately squeeze Raikkonen into cops. Oh my, what the? How have we not broken a bit of our front wing? We do have damage on, by the way, so I count myself lucky. I even checked the heads-up display for wing damage. Somehow, we've come out unscathed. I mean, Raikkonen with a much tighter line into that corner, so no wonder he got kind of caught up. I wasn't expecting him to slow down so much to the point where I caught him mid-apex, and meanwhile now Massa is through ahead of me and having a go at Raikkonen. So the Ferraris, they're so quick that, you know, one mistake, one moment of being slow in one corner and they're straight on us, so it's relentless here. And so we're going to have to try and keep up some upgrading pace, I would say, into the last 2 parts of this career mini series. But right now we're still trying to use the areas of the circuit we know we're quicker at to try and keep up. Like in turn 1, the speed we're carrying through there is just insane compared to Ferrari. Kind of would allude to that actually maybe we're better than on them than Aero, and maybe it's really the engine power of that Ferrari car in the back of their machines that is really helping them on all these straights. But to be fair, Kobayashi also very fast. Just in general, the AI on this mod just seem to have something over us in a straight line, but we're trying to remedy that with some you know, some careful placement. We go for what seems like the 5 billionth attempt at going round the outside of a car at Luffield, but that Ferrari just keeps on chugging Raikkonen. It's like a cheat code almost, the way he just waltzes by us. This time though, we're so much closer through cops and we don't get brake checked, and we're able to try and send it through. Keep committed, keep the foot in through Maggott and Beckett, and we do sail up ahead of the Iceman. And Raikkonen slowed up so much that Massa now is attacking him. Kobayashi's in the middle of it as well, but the 2 Ferraris are coming through either side of me. It's a double attack by the Italian team, and now the pair of them are squabbling for who's going to be the lead Ferrari. But we're going to try and get back into this fight down the hill into the 3rd last corner. We're going to make it 3 wide in that section. We've done insane to pull off the double overtake. Massa on the inside, but we're trying to get to the apex first, and Massa makes contact with our right rear and he's sheared off his tyre. Massa is out of the British Grand Prix, and all of a sudden this opens up the door for so many of us to gain points on one of the Ferraris. At least Raikkonen is still there. He was the championship leader going into this one, but Massa not scoring today could be a massive gimme for the likes of Kobayashi, Hamilton, Alonso to try and claw back some points in the Drivers' Championship, and also for ourselves as a team to try and make headway on Ferrari in the Constructors' fight. It's going to be Hamilton on the inside though of Kobayashi and Raikkonen. The 3 of them are side by side for most of this section as they continue this 3-wide battle. Hamilton on the inside, the Ferrari on the outside. Kobayashi gets pincered in between, and ultimately Raikkonen is the one that's on the way up into P2. Hamilton P3 though, into a podium now as Alonso isn't too far off, and Kimi's wide. Kimi Kimi's wide. He's made a mistake. Ferrari, they're having a McLaren race like Canada. They're imploding. Massa's out. Kimi's made a mistake. And all of a sudden, Hamilton is in P2. Kobayashi P3. And Fernando Alonso. But I think Kimi's actually re-overtaken Alonso now as we're now onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. So in those 3 laps since Raikkonen made the mistake, Hamilton has been coming at me and he's now trying to overtake me for P1. He's come alive in clean air in P2 and he's actually set the fast lap of the Grand Prix previously. Kimi just nicked it on that previous last lap, but Hamilton was actually the fastest man on circuit for the last 3 laps up until Raikkonen came through with some clean air. So Hamilton has been absolutely on it, but we are trying our best to defend. We look behind us, we're a bit anxious because, again, like the Ferraris, every AI, they have the straight line speed over us, and Hamilton nearly spoils the party. But we are going to come through to lead a British 1-2, and we are going to be on the top step of the podium for the 2nd time this season. But this one is even sweeter. It's the home victory at Silverstone, and against our fellow Brit Hamilton. What a race. What action there. Hamilton, though, driver of the day, fighting through for that 2nd place.
Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
That is a massive race for this championship, with Massa not scoring. Raikkonen down the order. Did get Alonso, but behind Kobayashi, Hamilton, myself. This is big for the championship, for us and the constructors, but also the drivers' championship fight. And could this be the kickstart Hamilton needs to reignite the speed he had in that first race at Albert Park with that 2nd place? Great drive from P6 on the grid. And, well, in the championship, then it means we lead the way for the first time. 2 points ahead of Raikkonen. Massa now a couple of points back, 15 to be exact. Alonso, Hamilton, Kobayashi closing up on him, and they'll be wanting to try and get the jump, but of course Massa will probably try and bounce back, and they probably will, with Ferrari being just so overally quick. But they are now only 15 points ahead of us in the constructors fight, so that gap is closing, and we're looking to try and rewrite history here in 2007. What an episode, though. A wet race at Canada, and then an action-packed one here at Silverstone. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.